Oh, you run out of room for arcade machines. Well, how about this? How about if I put it on the door?
What is your favorite arcade game, and is it an experience that you would like to bring home? Well, if you answered Space Invaders, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Galaga, chances are Arcade 1UP, at-home arcade company, has you covered. And if you answered Pac-Man, they really have you covered. This isn't half of them. Now, my favorite arcade game of all time is Crazy Taxi. Now, I can't see Arcade 1UP licensing Crazy Taxi anytime soon just because of all the licenses that have to go into that game. It has a hugely popular soundtrack with huge artists like The Offspring and Bad Religion, tons of copyrighted logos of real-life businesses. I just don't see Crazy Taxi ever getting an at-home release from Arcade 1UP. But you know what else I don't see ever getting an at-home release from Arcade 1UP? Guitar Hero Arcade. There is so many copyrighted songs in that game, I don't ever see it coming to an at-home release. But that changes today. Join me as I make my own Guitar Hero arcade machine at home.
Now, I've probably played the real Guitar Hero arcade cabinets upwards of probably around 100 times in my life by now. Literally every single time I go to an arcade or a barcade that has one, I try my best to set a high score on it. I'm just a nerd when it comes to Guitar Hero. So when looking for base machines to mod to turn into a Guitar Hero arcade machine, I decided to look for machines that look relatively close to the same shape as the real deal. I also decided to look for a machine that was a little on the smaller side because as much as I hate to admit it, I am starting to run out of room here. And that is when the Arcade 1UP Partycades caught my eye. Now these aren't an exact match, but they're close enough. I like how they taper off on the top and get relatively skinny, but they have the relatively chunky base on the bottom. And the best part is I don't have to worry about trying to fit it anywhere because Partycades are actually designed to hang on doors or walls. I decided to order an Asteroids one because it didn't have any physical joysticks I would have to worry about removing and instead just had a flat plane of buttons. So I ordered it, unboxed it, and filmed me pulling off the cling film for the oddly satisfying people in the audience.
What the fuck?
Perfect. Next I decided to play a quick round of Tempest just to make sure that the screen and speaker worked because I plan on reusing both of them for the Guitar Hero arcade build. And yeah, everything seemed to work perfectly fine, so time to start tearing this thing apart. I popped off and separated the control panel, the marquee, and the front speaker grille because I absolutely need to paint that part silver because the real Guitar Hero arcade machine has a nice metal plate on the front. The marquee I wanted to paint black just so that way I could put a new logo and some lights on top. And I'm honestly just gonna throw some black vinyl on top of where the controls are and poke a few holes through because the real Guitar Hero arcade machine only has 2 buttons and the Asteroids machine has a crap ton. Now in terms of the side pieces of wood, I really do like the Asteroids art. It's such an iconic, striking piece of artwork that I really did want to preserve it. But on the other hand, for those curious about the spray paint I used, by the way, for the black I just used a Lowe's store brand one, nothing special. But for the silver and orange I used Rust-Oleum. It's kind of my go-to whenever I have to spray paint something. So while the paint dries, we do need to shop for some other supplies. Now the first thing I could think of is a marquee, or in this case, a light box. I didn't want to go with a standard marquee, one of the ones you'd find on eBay, just because the real Guitar Hero arcade machines just don't look like this. So thanks to the lovely Pat from HK Tech, I was able to get this lovely Guitar Hero arcade light box made up for me. Now that's not the only light that's on a Guitar Hero arcade machine. There's also these circular lights that are on the sides of the logo that flash different colors with the beat of the music, so hey, I might as well just get some puck lights that do the exact same thing. I also ordered a guitar mount, and I think these things are meant for walls, but it'll do a good enough job for hanging my guitar in the front of the machine. And obviously I also needed the brains of the machine itself. I couldn't reflash the Asteroids board to run Guitar Hero. So I decided to go on eBay and I bought this small form factor PC used for parts for $30, and I honestly bought a 4-parts PC specifically for this video because I thought it'd be kind of fun for me to go through the trials and tribulations of fixing a small form factor PC. Figured it would be entertaining for you guys. I plugged it in as soon as I got it and it worked flawlessly immediately and there's nothing wrong with it. So Don't know what the whole 4 parts thing was about. Next, I had to figure out the whole software thing. Now, I'm decent when it comes to sort of like retro front ends and stuff like that, but when it comes to weird arcade ports that were only cracked recently, yeah, this isn't my area of expertise. However, I do know people who are very good with the code back end of Guitar Hero, so I figured I'd hit them up. The first person I messaged was my buddy Oktoberfest. You guys might be familiar with his work on the mod Guitar Hero World Tour Definitive Edition. Now, he's not alone there. There's tons of incredibly talented modders that are working on this. Off the top of my head, shout out to Zedek, Fox, IMF, Uzi, Jimmy. There's a ton of people I'm missing. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I published a video of Hank Hill singing Mr. Roboto. Just watch that. It's as amazing as it sounds. Anyway, thanks to October's help, I was able to get the game up and running on my small form factor PC, which was awesome. Also very strange. I never thought I'd be able to play Guitar Hero Arcade at home, but yeah, here we are. Now, the person that originally cracked the arcade version for at-home use did leave on the debug modes, which I had no idea how to disable, and unfortunately the way you access them is by hitting the select button, which is also the star power button, so I had to find some way to turn that off. So I hit up Wesley. Now, Wesley is the incredibly talented developer behind Fast Guitar Hero 3. Now, this is a minimalist mod with one-click play and the ability to play songs off of web browsers. Yes, really, I'm not making that up, it's really cool. Now, between October and Wesley, I was able to get all of the software issues from Guitar Hero Arcade squared away, and I'm able to play this pretty much flawlessly on my small form factor PC. Now, I don't want to have to use a mouse every single time I boot up this computer, so I decided to install the Launchbox and Big Box front end, which I've used plenty of times in the past. When I dragged the Guitar Hero Arcade executable into Launchbox, it thought it was 18 Wheels of Steel, the American long haul for Windows. What the fuck? So I had to edit the metadata and I turned it into Guitar Hero Arcade. While I was there, I also threw on Dolphin and a couple emulated versions of Green Day Rock Band and Lego Rock Band, and for shits and giggles, Clone Hero as well. Now that the software is all squared away, it's time to start assembling the cabinet. My girlfriend bought me this awesome reflective tape that I figured I could use as a substitute for T-molding. It looks really, really cool when you shine light on it. Additionally, I drilled a hole into the marquee so I could fit all of the electronics through without having the wires visible on the front of the machine. I measured and marked where the lights had to go with silver Sharpie and attached them along with the marquee with hot glue. I know a lot of people are probably going to give me shit for using hot glue, but I didn't really have much of a choice. I booted the lights up on their own, and yeah, this is looking pretty damn snazzy. Now, it's worth noting that if you do plan on modding your own Guitar Hero arcade machine, or any arcade machine in general, and you don't plan on using one of the Arcade 1-Up specific PCBs, you're going to need to get an adapter so that way you can use the stock monitor and speaker with whatever you want to plug into it. Arcade Mod Shop sells both of them, so I decided to order from them, and when they arrived, I installed the computer. Completely forgot that the computer was a 3-prong adapter and my extension cable was only 2 prongs, so had to find this really sketchy looking 3-prong to 2-prong adapter in my garage. I might burn my house down. I attached the guitar hook wall mount, which was probably the easiest part of this whole process. Low quality post-production Danny here to mention that I also bought a Windows Universal volume knob and hot glued that onto the front to change the volume on the computer without needing a keyboard. Totally forgot to mention that. And now I think it's about time for the grand reveal. But wait! I have to offset the cost of spending $540 on a new arcade machine. Y'all like anime? Then check out Waifu Wares. It's a great website that sells anime-inspired apparel, mouse pads, cups, and more. Brought to you by some of your favorite creators with some great designs. The cups are super high quality, they don't leak, and they look fantastic. I literally use a Waifu Wares cup pretty much every single day of my life. They hold up phenomenally well, and the newer ones are even dishwasher safe. Best part is they're a fraction of the cost of other competing cup companies, and if you want to save even more money, use code DanRock at checkout for 15% off your entire order. Thank you. And now it's time for the actual grand reveal.